Joining us on the program right now, very pleased to have with us the president of the National Border Patrol Council, George McCubbin III. And Mr. McCubbin, thanks for coming back on the program, sir.
Oh, thank you for having me once again.
You bet. We had a lot of folks ask me yesterday about a story, proposal to shut down 9 Border Patrol stations, most of them in Texas, and what it might mean. Apparently, there's a lot of concern from local law enforcement there in Texas, and I guess even from at least one of the Border Patrol agents who will be moved to closer to the border, who sent a memo to local law enforcement, explaining what this is going to mean. And in short, it sure sounds like folks are going to have to. They're not going to be able to rely on the Border Patrol nearly as much as they are right now in these affected areas. What is your take on this proposal?
Yeah, well, we're obviously upset. I mean, we're not going to lay down for this. Next week, we're headed back to Washington, D.C., and talk to some of the elected representatives that are in these particular areas and hopefully convince them that this is a bad decision made by our agency to close these 9 stations.
When you say this was a bad decision, now the Border Patrol, I guess, is saying we're going to reallocate these human assets closer to the border. Why is that a bad idea?
Well, that in itself is not a bad idea if they need to have more assets on the southern border.
Right.
The bad idea is to close these stations and remove the Border Patrol presence in these locations.
Okay. In other words, we can need more agents on the border, but we also need these agents in Amarillo, and we need them in Dallas, and we need them in San Antonio.
Correct. Yeah. I mean, what they've done is, when the agency targets a station that they want to consider to close, they study it for a little bit. But what they do is they allow these agents to transfer out, and they don't backfill the positions, and they get them down to such a low number where they're at now that they're not effective because they're not fully staffed. They're not doing what they were there in the first place to do. And, if anything, they should be increasing these stations back to the full staffing levels that they should be and continue doing their Border Patrol duties.
So
by all means, the more areas we can get on the southern border, the better for the country.
Right. But, I heard read one of the local sheriffs there in Texas say, look, if the Amarillo station closes, I've got to call El Paso and wait 8 hours for agents to arrive from El Paso if I've stopped a car on Interstate 40. He said, I can't do that. It's just it really sounds like this is going to be a detriment. In the interior, we don't necessarily think about the Border Patrol operating in places like Amarillo or Dallas, but clearly there's a need for it.
Well, there definitely is. That's the reason that the stations are there. What's unfortunate for those areas, El Paso's not going to send anybody. They're not going to have to wait 8 hours. They're going to be told there's nobody available, and those departments are going to have to release these aliens back into the streets, not knowing their background. And that's what they're going to have to do, and that's just it's unfortunate. It's just not a good thing. These departments rely on the Border Patrol for functions such as you mentioned, as well as other duties that they assist the local law enforcement departments in these areas.
So
they all rely on each other.
Why do you think this policy is being put in place?
Our agency has this big idea, that the Border Patrol should only be on the border. ICE will handle everything on the interior, and we all work together, and working together that all this will, all the bad people will go away. Nobody will come in, and the people that are in will be picked up by ICE, and that's false. ICE has not been staffed to handle these added duties.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the last few years we have increased our numbers, to the level that we're at now, but ICE has not, and they cannot handle this stuff. They already have a full plate, and to be asking them of this, just isn't right because they don't have the resources right now. We do.
And
We
again,
already have 50 people there.
you say that you'll be going to Washington next week to talk to members of Congress about this?
Correct. Yeah, we'll be flying out there next Monday.
All right. Well, Mr. McCubbin, again, appreciate you coming on the program tonight, sir, and look forward to getting an update from you perhaps next week.
Sure, that's not a problem.
Great. Thanks so much, sir. George McCubbin III, President of the National Border Patrol Council.